What I didn't know is I do have dyslexia. I don't know when I was or wasn't tested for that, but I mean, there are clear indications. I just didn't know the name of it all the way up until, well, to this day. But like when I'm writing notes quickly, I'm writing like other letters in front of the other and constantly like fixing my mistakes. So everything takes a lot longer when you're a dyslexic person. And when I got my first cashier job, I was even like reading some of the numbers completely backwards. So you can understand probably now why I'm like bad at math and all these things, and kind of why I just gave up in some ways. And also when doing tests and exams, that was really hard because like I'm still writing, you know, when things are under a time limit and I'm writing things the wrong way, like putting a T or H before the T or whatever it is, or even putting the words backwards. It's just kind of interesting. Sometimes it's like, okay, did people just ask me if I was seeing words backwards? Because if they did, I would have said, no, I'm not seeing words backwards because I'm looking at the word and I'm not like counting. I'm not seeing GNITNUOC. I'm not seeing it completely backwards. But as I'm doing my work, as I'm whatever, it's coming out backwards. So how is a literal child supposed to know that? But anyway, and I was almost held back for a second time. So in grade 2, apparently that was like the worst time for me. Things were probably not at their peak of, it was kind of like at the peak of being aware that other people's surroundings were nothing like mine, and people didn't have to fear their dads in every single household and things like that, so I was just starting to recognize how other people's existences weren't like mine, and things might have been worse that year, those years, in terms of their mental health. So I don't know, but I was really struggling around then, and I was behind everyone. So I was a learning disabled child, but I wasn't getting the support I needed, is what I'm trying to say. 21, I was very gullible. People could just tell me pretty much anything and I would believe it. And it's kind of like, even to this day, kind of the last to get the joke and too literal. I think I'm a lot better now, but there are times. 22, very sensitive. I didn't like teasing, cried easily. 23, I played independently young. There's a video of me with my, like, some family relatives, and they're trying to play with me, and I'm like, no, like, I wanted to just be by myself, and I was very much in my own world and doing my own thing, which most, as I see it now, because I had a home daycare, like, kids are usually very involved with their family and friends and stuff, and I was very independent. And I had a lot more imaginative play rather than verbal, so everything was kind of going on in my head and not acting out things the way other kids do. 24, trouble maintaining relationships. So yeah, starting at a young age, with whether it be from my strong beliefs or my shortcomings or my black and white thinking, or just a lot of things. And that's something I still struggle with today. 25, masking to burnout. So I had no awareness of what it was called back then, but yes, I would definitely, you know, I tried to be like everyone else, and with that comes masking, where you're trying to be like everyone else, but you're not. You just have, you know, everyone's different, and it's okay. As I say that with my arms crossed. Okay, so 26, insomnia, young. So I remember this a lot. there were just times I could not fall asleep, especially if there was anything important the next day, like the first day of school or some sort of event, something I was looking forward to. I just like had so much trouble falling asleep. But so I think before that it was just, I think at times it didn't matter. Like when I was younger, it didn't matter what the events were. It was just something I was experiencing. Like, and another thing kind of went hand in hand with my OCD once, because there was a time I was like pulling out my hair, and probably due to the stress of the household environment, but I was pulling out my hair and like pulling out the follicles. And I know that's like so disgusting, but I was just a kid struggling in so many ways. And I remember doing that until pretty much the sun rose the next day. And then I asked my mom if I had a bald spot, and she took me to the mirror, and I did have one. So sometimes I worry and wonder about that today, if I'm already experiencing hair loss there, because I did that so young. And then with that, you know, staying up all night, it's like I'd just be exhausted during the day. Like there were times I could like easily fall asleep on bus rides, and there were times I missed stops. And, you know, I just get so drained at school, and it's not only poor nutrition and not having a good sleep, but yeah, just I needed to nap a lot after school. I remember that sometimes I would wake up, and so I'd nap after school. I wake up and it's 7:30 p.m., but I think it's a.m. and I'm getting ready for school. I'm sure that happened to a lot of people, but it happened to me a few times, or more often. 27 thrives on routine. I thrived on a routine as an autistic kid, but I didn't get the routine. So the only time I was like really thriving is like when we'd go off to Girl Guides and camp, and we had a very strict routine. Like times like that were really awesome, because the routine was just non-existent at home. It was always like, oh, my parents just woke up when they felt like it because it's the weekend, and so they'd cook when they felt like it. I'd have to like knock on the door like as a young child, saying like, hello, I have basic needs. It's impossible to go through talking about autism and not bring up a lot of the really negative trauma, and this is just like barely even the surface of it. 28. I did a lot better in one-on-one relationships. I tended to, even like 3 people in a group, those 2 people, if they were like neurotypical, they tend to, or even if they were neurodivergent, they just tended to like kind of be in sync with one another. And I was just kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but just that's always kind of been me. Like even groups I was a part of, I only pretty much had like one best friend at a time. And in big groups, I would get overstimulated and feel left out. Like I'd be at things, and it's like, I think some of my personality started to come out like later into high school, but in those earlier years, it was a lot tougher. 29. Things seem to come naturally for others. So even to this day, but back then, like I had to work really hard for anything that I've achieved. Like it just seems like people could get the concept, whether it be homework or with you know, pop quizzes and just anything, like, you know, where you watch a video and then you have to give the key points. Like I just couldn't remember the same way others did. And today, because I'm struggling in all these different ways, and I have like a physical disability, it's just I just have to really work and Masking so young was extremely hard. It leads to burnout, and